Monkey mind is a term that comes from Buddhist philosophy, and it refers to a mind that is always jumping from thought to thought, kind of like a monkey swinging from tree to tree. This kind of mind is scatterbrained, distracted, probably can't focus very well, always thinking, overthinking, ruminating. Sometimes it can feel like there's just non-stop chatter going on in your brain. If you have this kind of mind, you probably struggle a lot with it and it probably causes you a lot of distress. In this video, what I want to do is I want to help you understand where this monkey mind is coming from, and obviously how you can begin to calm it down so you can start to use your mind how it was designed to be used, to think intelligent, purposeful, helpful thoughts, not wasting energy on meaningless, distressing thinking. So the first big idea I have for you is you cannot outthink your overthinking. Most of the problems we ruminate on, that we get stuck on, have kind of an uncertain aspect to them, and we tend to ruminate thinking I can get to some sort of resolution. Now, coming from someone who's really struggled with intrusive thoughts, and I got stuck on themes for years sometimes, trying to figure certain things out. And you know what? I never ever came to a resolution or an answer. My mind wasn't able to give me the solution. So I want you to understand this, that if you are an overthinker and you have an overactive mind, that you're never going to come to an answer. Yes, your mind is useful to solve certain types of problems, but the sorts of things overthinkers get stuck on, these are problems usually that your mind cannot solve. You need to go a level above mind. So now I would like to talk to you about where this monkey mind comes from. An interesting thing I found out, in fact, I found it very, very fascinating, is human beings have almost 70,000 thoughts every single day. And 90 to 95% of them are the same thoughts. So we're thinking the same thing repetitively on a loop. And if your thoughts have anything to do with the quality of your life and you are thinking the same thoughts over and over again, then it's no surprising that nothing changes. You're just creating the same narrative and the same story over and over again. So take some time to ponder and contemplate that you have 70,000 thoughts every single day. And nearly all of them are the same thought. Just that one idea, if you truly digest it, can change your whole life. So where does this monkey mind originate from? If you look at the brain, there is a part of the brain that gets quite active when you have this insistent chatter going on. This part of the brain is called the default mode network, otherwise known as the DMN. This part of your brain is associated to rumination, self-talk, daydreaming. An important part of this brain as well is it creates a narrative about you and your life. That's the part of your brain that strings this narrative together. That you're this individual, you're this person having this life experience. Something happened to you or something didn't happen to you. That whole story of your life is created by this default mode network. And what is the most popular idea or thought that most people have? It's about me and my life. What am I doing? Where am I going? Everyone is thinking about themselves because this part of the brain, this default mode network, is too active. There's too much activity there. So naturally, if you were able to decrease activity here, there would be less thought. There would be less kind of worrying and rumination and inner chatter. An interesting fact about this part of the brain is that it becomes active when you have no external stimulus. For example, when you try to meditate and you close your eyes and there's nothing external going on, this part of your brain kind of gets switched on. Activity increases. Maybe you're someone who struggles to sleep, so every time you go to sleep, you close your eyes and your mind starts racing. This part of your brain is getting switched on. However, the opposite is also true. If you are constantly busy and distracted and doing things, this part of your mind stays quiet. The activity there decreases. And for that reason, I think a lot of people tend to keep themselves very busy, even if it's just scrolling on your phone or always talking or gossiping or always distracting yourself. Because deep down, you don't want that voice to get louder, because that voice might not say very nice things to you. So for this reason, a lot of people, you probably know people like this, they just distract themselves all day long, or they're always talking, they're always in the phone, they're always doing something, because if they were to stop, take a deep breath and just be still, that DMN, that default mode network, is going to turn up in volume, and that monkey mind is going to take you over. And nobody wants to experience that. But that is what is happening. This part of your brain is way overactive. Now, you might be wondering, well, why is this part of my brain overactive? Well, interestingly, people who have depression, trauma, anxiety tend to have an overactive default mode network. I would suggest it probably is a byproduct of trauma. You probably had some negative experiences at some point in your life that made your brain become stimulated in this area. But ultimately, and importantly, this part of your brain is actually looking out for you. It's trying to protect you in some weird kind of way, which you don't understand, but because of the trauma or the negative experiences you had, your brain had to armor you up. You had to protect yourself. And you are all about survival, right? It's the default program. And your system will do almost anything to help you survive. So your brain adapted to what happened, and now you can't shut it off. But please have some compassion and understanding about why it does this. It's not an enemy. It's trying to help you. It's not doing a very good job. I appreciate that, but that is what's going on. So the ultimate solution for this is to train your mind to stop being so overreactive. Train your mind to be okay with stillness, silence, quietness. You don't always have to be doing something. So I'm going to share with you a couple of solutions for this. They will require work and persistence, but over the long term, you'll see results and your mind will calm down. I am a speaking testament to this. That's why I know that it works. Again, I want to bring that idea back up that I shared with you at the beginning, and that is you cannot outthink an overthinking mind. So if you do get caught up in overthinking, at least somewhere in your mind understand that it's not going to help. It's going to make you worse, if anything. So let's get to these solutions. The first one is nervous system healing. How you react to something programs your nervous system. So although we are talking about the brain and its default mode network, your nervous system is adapted in accordance to how your brain functions. So if you are overreactive and you are always looking for distraction, your system is now functioning with your brain. That makes it harder to break the habit, because it's your whole being that's acting like this distracted, overthinking type of way. Your nervous system will react to internal thoughts and feelings the same way that it deals with external things. So if externally you're always distracted and you're always on your phone, you're always gossiping, you can't sit still, your nervous system is trained to deal with your internal thoughts and feelings the same way. Does that make sense? So if you're distracted externally, you've trained your system to act the same way internally. Because whatever you practice, you get good at. So when you think, I can't deal with my thoughts, it's probably because you're not training yourself to deal with life better. If you were able to be quiet in your external life and be focused and purposeful and intentional and not be distracted all the time, then when it would come to dealing with your internal thoughts and feelings, you would have a better handle on them, you see, because you would have trained your system to deal with them better. That's why this whole path is about training externally and internally. You need to do it on both levels, and a lot of the things I'm going to share with you here are about training your nervous system to deal with things externally. So practice dealing with things externally in the right way, so then you deal with things internally in the right way, okay? It's literally like a mirror. So once again, if you are just scattered, distracted, aimless, gossipy, whatever externally, you are not going to have much power or control internally, okay? You need to create order outside, which will create order inside. And that will train your nervous system to react and respond the same way all the time. For nervous system training specifically, I would suggest you work on cultivating a feeling of safety. That's what keeps most people in this traumatized state, because you don't feel safe, okay? Like I said, things happened to you in the past, traumatized you, you don't feel safe anymore because of what happened. You're carrying that feeling of unsafety with you still. So as you work on bringing safety to your system, meditation can do this, any kind of trauma healing, you're going to have to check them out for yourself, but that will calm your system down. As your system calms down and you feel safer, naturally your mind will settle. But you're still going to have to train it like I've been talking about. So let's get to the training parts. The first thing, again, I talk about this a lot. You're probably sick of hearing it, but you need to cut out distractions. If you have an overactive default mode network and you have monkey mind, you don't have the luxury to be scrolling on your phone all the time. It's not a luxury you can afford, right? Yeah, you might have friends who can go on their phones and they get stuff done and they're still productive and they're moving forward in life, but that's probably not you. And so you need to make that sacrifice. Do you either want to be distracted all the time and know what's happening on social media or whatever else you go on, or do you actually want to grow and change your life? That's what it's going to boil down to for some of you. And if you are in the right place and you are willing to make that choice, you will cut out distractions. And I'm not just talking about social media, obviously Netflix, binge watching Netflix and spending hours on video games and all these sorts of things. You need to kind of make a plan of when you are going to use these things in moderation. I'm not saying you should never go on your phone. I'm not saying you should never watch Netflix or never play video games. I do all these things in moderation. Okay, you need to schedule them into your day so you are in control of when you use these things rather than them kind of controlling you, pretty much. Do you see what I mean? Rather than you being addicted to them. So it might look like you working for 45 minutes, then having 5-10 minutes on social media, right? And then being strict with that, okay? That again, you're training your system. You're letting your system know that you are in control, that these things outside of you don't control you. You are the master of who you are, you see? So cut out distractions. Second thing, big one, self-discipline. So I have a quote for you. Self-discipline weakens the dominance of the default mode network by activating brain regions associated with focus, presence, and intentionality. Self-discipline is energy management. That's how I see it. So if you think about someone who's scatterbrained, their energy is going everywhere, right? You're distracted, you're on your phone, you're multitasking, you're talking to somebody, you're just all over the place. You're not focused on one thing. What self-discipline looks like is it means you get more focused, right? You get more intentional. You say, I'm going to get up at this time, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, then I might take a break, and then you do your best to stick to that plan. Compared to the scattered person, the scattered person's energy is just all over the place. Their energy is scattered. The disciplined person has managed to bring all that energy together and channel it into one place. That's why I call it an energy management skill. That's why it's a spiritual practice, self-discipline, because it's helping you manage your energy. And when you can start to manage your energy and put it all into one place, now you're becoming powerful, you see, because you need a lot of energy to change your life. If you are scattered and monkey-minded and your energy is going anywhere, how do you expect to change your life, right? Changing your life requires focus. It requires energy. And you can build that energy and manage it better through the act of self-discipline. But that's why it feels so difficult, because imagine your energy is literally going everywhere and you are now having to pull it all together and put it in one direction. It requires a lot of willpower. It requires a lot of concentration to do that. And you're going to fail, right? That's the thing. It's a non-stop challenge. But it hardens your brain. And bringing it back to my other point about the nervous system, it starts to train your system to hold your energy better, you see. But all the distractions and being scatterbrained, it's trained your system the wrong way. So self-discipline is a great way to train your system. Now, in terms of the brain, when you are self-disciplined, it begins to activate and strengthen the prefrontal cortex, which is the evolved part of the human brain. This is what differentiates human beings from animals, right? We have this prefrontal cortex, reason, logic, conscious awareness, this powerful part of the brain. And when you get disciplined, this part of the brain gets stronger. When that part of the brain gets stronger, it actually begins to dampen down the default mode network. It begins to regulate activity in that part of the brain. And when you keep living disciplined, you start to develop neural networks to keep activity in the default mode network regulated and under control. But guess what? Like a lot of things, it's going to take time. It needs to become a lifestyle. Cutting out distraction has to be your lifestyle. It's how you're going to live for the rest of your life. Living a disciplined life has to be how you are going to live for the rest of your life. If you want to manage your energy, if you want to manifest and live a good life, it's not up for negotiation. I would go as far as to say self-discipline is important for good mental health for a lot of people. Again, if you're one of them lucky people who can do what they want and they're always feeling good and they're productive, great, good for you. You're probably not watching this video. But most of you are going to need to work on your mental health, and self-discipline is one of the best ways to do that. So my final thing I want to share with you is, of course, meditation. Meditation kind of covers a lot of the things I've been talking about. Meditation regulates your nervous system. You have to calm yourself down. Meditation works on discipline because you're having to keep focused on one thing, stay concentrated, use willpower. And obviously it strengthens these regions of the brain I've been talking about that you need to strengthen. It decreases the default mode network. In terms of meditation, what sort of meditation you would do, I would suggest anything that requires you to focus, right? You can focus on yourself, you can focus on consciousness, you can focus on your breath, you can even sit and focus on a candle flame, anything, right? Every time your focus wanders, you bring it back. Every time it wanders, you keep bringing it back, and you just learn to hold it. Just that practice alone will start to strengthen your mind a lot, okay? Especially if you're doing it, say, 2 times a day, every day. Okay, in a few weeks, you'll start to experience benefits of having a stronger mind, especially if you're cutting out the distractions and you are starting to live more disciplined. Okay, and over the long term, you'll change your nervous system, right? Your nervous system will start to relax a little bit. It'll stop always be looking for things to attach to and jump onto that next branch, right? And that monkey mind will start to calm down. So please understand, even though we say monkey mind, we're talking about regulating your system and your body as well, okay? It's both systems. And the final thing quickly I'll say is that find what works for you, okay? There'll be things that help your system calm down. There'll be things that you do that help this default mode network in your brain calm down. For example, for me, breath work helps me. I think that helps a lot of people. Running as well, even though I hate running, I do it more and more because it just has this kind of calming effect on my mind, right? And my body. So find what works for you. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's reading or dancing. These are all things that I can imagine would help as well. So find what works for you and kind of build it into your practice. Like I said, this is a lifestyle. This is how you are going to live. If you want to have some control over your life and your thoughts and not be ruled by that monkey living in your mind, okay? So I hope this video helps some of you out. If you want to watch more things like this, check out these videos right here. But until next time, God bless.